In Europe, in any one day, there can be up to 30,000 aircraft using European airspace, so that's a lot of passengers.
Very few people understand and even think about what happens and how is the pilot able not to crash against other flights.
Air traffic controllers are providing safety for the passengers in the flying aircraft.
Air traffic management is not only the air traffic control tower that you can see on the airport, it's also a lot of other people that are dealing with flights when they are on cruise, but also dealing with the equipment that is needed to provide the air traffic control service.
From the time they depart until they get to destination, there is a whole branch of, let's say, little pieces of cheeses that the aircraft has to go through, and each block of airspace is controlled by one controller.
So air traffic controllers provide a very important function in ensuring the safety of all passengers on board.
The biggest challenge that ATM is now facing, and that's what makes social dialogue so important nowadays, because of the cost pressure. That means flexible rosters for air traffic controllers, or less employees to perform all the support services that are needed.
Controllers do perform a very important job, and I think over the next number of years there may actually be a shortage of controllers, and that's probably one of the challenges that will be facing air navigation service providers over the next 5 or 6 years.
The process to establish the Single European Sky may have social consequences at national level, such as transfer of staff, negotiation of collective agreements, introduction of new technologies, layoff, changes in the organization of the work. What we wanted to do as social partners at EU level is to give to our members a tool which is a joint effort made by CANSO, ATCEUC and ETF.
The Toolbox is a document containing a set of best practices to support an effective social dialogue between the management and trade unions.
And the basic idea of a toolbox is that the more tools you have in a toolbox, the more jobs you can do. If we only have a hammer in our toolbox, then we tend to treat everything as if it was a nail.
So it was very important that everybody who is involved in social dialogue, in other words, the social partners, both from management side or employer side and employee side, work together and have buy-in for the toolbox.
It contains procedures, it contains processes, it contains negotiation methods, mediation procedures that can be used to suit local environments.
If social dialogue is stuck, the booklet could help, if you have the commitment of both parties, that you have certain tools at your hand to enhance your own social dialogue and finally come to an agreement.
And the idea then is to try and disseminate that best practice through a series of workshops with all the functional airspace blocks in Europe. It involves all the social partners and others to try and get people together to look at all the different tools and how they can best use those in their own organisation. So the way that the toolbox was put together was to seek information from the social partners in different countries about their practices, and then from that to try and distill good practice.
The workshop which we held was actually to bring the different people together, meaning management and staff representatives from national service providers, and to learn from their experience. When people leave these workshops, sometimes it helps, and it has helped.
We're all on the same page in terms of understanding each other's responsibilities, each other's priorities. We might not always agree on everything, but we can certainly, we are now in an environment whereby we can deal with issues in a fashion that kind of respects each other's positions.
To have these good relations, we need to have some key values.
And the essential prerogative are the values of cooperation, partnership, respect and mutual trust. Without those values, even enlisting all the best processes in the world, and you try to implement them, they will not work.
We believe that the toolbox can have a lot of merit. It is something you can revert to and something that can guide you. And what I believe is a very essential component of this is the fact that this is devised by the practitioners, for the practitioners. This is not something which is theoretical. This is something which is based on the experiences and based on the exchange of views.
What the social partners find most useful in the workshops is when you sit together with managers, union representatives from different countries with very different experiences. They might be operating in a very different legal environment, different trade union structures, different demands from customers. It actually opens their eyes to very different ways of conducting the social dialogue, and it enables them to reflect on the practices in their own country and think about how they can improve those.
It's a long and slow process. We've been working through it for several years. And I honestly believe, if trust and commitment is real on both sides, it does work. It does work, really. Because we have countries where it works.
When the manager gather the trade unions and tell them, how do we work together? It gives a more commitment to the people. It gives a more engaging for them, and they belong. They feel they belong to the company, because this feeling of belonging is very important to motivate the unions to participate in the process together with the managers.